Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother...
Welcome to the party, pal!
Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast Classic. I'm Ralph Quattrucci.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Deborah Murphy.
I'm John Quattrucci.
I'm Chris Coker.
I'm Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
Don't
All right.
call me Shirley.
The Shirley edition. All right, listen, I'm going to forego. Hello, everybody, by the way.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hello. I am going to forego the What You Watch, and I want to talk about Bruce Willis. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows, but obviously we know the name of this podcast is Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast.
As a tribute to Die Hard.
As a tribute to Die Hard and Bruce Willis. Originally, the podcast was going to be called You're Going to Need a Bigger Boat, because I'm a huge Jaws fan. A bigger podcast. You're going to need a bigger podcast. I had our millennials check to make sure that was okay. The millennials searched the web, said it's great. We put it out. Sure enough, somebody already had that podcast name. So one day we had to go, okay, we got to come up with another one. And I said, well, my second favorite is Die Hard. Let's do something with Yippee-Ki-Yay. So this podcast, which is now five years old, Sean, must be almost 5 years old.
To be. I think we're not coming up on our 6th season.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Is definitely
and we keep getting renewed, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah,
we just keep getting renewed.
It's awesome. Amazing. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
It's making no money, but we just keep
listening.
Well, it's the consistent audience numbers that I think really.
Exactly. So Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother Podcast.
Neither has the last few Bruce Willis movies. They don't make any money.
Let's be honorable. Let's
you're right.
honor the person.
Let's not treat him like Peter Bogdanovich.
So yeah, let's talk about it a little bit. So Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with aphasia, which has been
that's
described.
The thing that you lose your hair with?
That's not the same one.
No.
Okay,
no.
Sorry.
This is the one where it's like being in another country. You have no idea the language. I mean, it's
right.
synapses all.
You can't process it.
And if you've watched, as John alluded to, if you've watched some of his latest movies, you can see that there was an issue there. Something was definitely going on. Well, the family finally confirmed that he has aphasia. And I don't know what the diagnosis is. I guess he's done. Well, he's done. He's officially done. And I kind of
they did say there is some therapy that they can do, that like when someone who's dyslexic, they can do some things to help with that. They don't know if it's going to work. They don't, because I don't know if they know how far gone he is or whatever. So it's not completely bleak, but he is retiring now.
Yeah.
And you're saying now, John, that this is not just a aphasia he's going through.
Debbie, are we really? You had it. I'm glad you got the joke out of the way, because he's the namesake for this podcast.
We have to start.
First of all, Sean already dropped the alopecia, and
but those one-liners, Debbie's one-liners, we have to start.
Right. This is Bruce Willis.
Them.
This is Bruno. Bruno, the return of Bruno.
Hey, okay? a gold album, the return of Bruno.
I should be drinking Seagram's Golden Wine coolers right now.
Golden Wine coolers
in honor of
wet and it's dry.
Yeah, my. I met Bruce Willis.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I just want to say I won't say I'm glad to hear this, because it's terrible, but previously on the you've been hearing, if you've been paying any attention at all or even slightly in the movie business, that he's been like weird on the set, and a lot of people, at least a while ago, just thought it was ego and being a jerk. So I'm glad to see that I'm glad he's not a jerk.
Well, I think he was a jerk and is a jerk, probably. Kevin Smith. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Cop Out that he did with Tracy Morgan.
Kevin Smith apologized for that.
Finally apologized. But, Kevin Smith was put through the ringer on that one by Bruce Willis. I have that DVD, and I watched all that stuff. And, yes, Bruce Willis was a jerk, probably. But now he's, he wasn't being a jerk. I think his people, whether it's family or his representatives, were just putting him out there.
Right.
To try to generate as much money as they could before he couldn't do it anymore.
They did a big story on the Ankler podcast with the writer of the LA Times story. And I was shocked because she found out how much he was making. He was still pulling in $1 million a day. Right. And they were saying, and I know we've discussed it in the podcast before, he'd only do the frontal shots. He had the earpiece. And they always did, like with the other actors in the conversation, they said with a lookalike that looked incredibly like him from the back.
Right.
Oh wow.
Absolutely nothing like him from the front.
So I think
I think John, even you saw some film that he was in. It was
The
like
sci-fi one was just it looked like they spent $10 on the film. So if they were spending $1 million a day on him, all the money was going for him, because it certainly wasn't for sets or a script.
But the filmmakers knew if they put Bruce Willis in there, they're going to get
you get some name.
It's a great name.
And his agents and his, I don't know if his family, but because his family, they've been very protective. They brought him in during, Demi Moore and the last family. He's got a young wife now and a couple other kids. I think she has a couple of young kids. So Demi Moore has been taking care of him. So I think everybody knew. And like I said, this last film finally said, yes, we can say that we knew that he had this. He could work an hour or two a day. But they put him in because it's Bruce Willis, and Bruce Willis still drew the thing. And, that's obviously this podcast is in honor of of Die Hard. So I have a big soft spot for Bruce Willis. Was he a dick on set? Probably.
I've heard that from people too, even in his prime.
He was probably a dick when he was doing Bruno and all.
Got to say one thing. He was a movie star. You know what I mean? He had that thing that, movie stars have.
It's him, Tom Cruise. I mean, you start, there are certain people that can open a film. And I think that's what they were going for. And it's just sad. I mean, it's life. It's life. It happens. But this is a guy who I grew up with, Die Hard came out in 80, 84. But Moonlighting was a TV show he did with Sybil Shepherd. Yeah.
That was his first show. I mean,
most of us, that's how we got introduced to Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And it's sad. And I just wanted to give a little shout out to him and kind of honor him a little bit. And this podcast has been honoring him, not him, but the idea of Die Hard for 6 years now. And it's kind of a sad thing to see this happen.
I will say that the first movie I ever got on a laser disc with my surround sound system was Die Hard. And that movie sounded amazing. The bullets would come from the back. It was just and it's a great picture anyway, but that was the first disc I bought that had true surround sound. And it was amazing.
And that's a film we'll never
And I still have that. I still have it.
We won't review it on this. This scene that's behind me is what I use in the open of our podcast. And we'll never review the show. We'll never review Jaws. We may talk about it. But it's a perfect film. And
well, unless they remake it, and then we'll talk about it.
If they remake Jaws, we'll talk about it.
Right. They remade West Side Story. What the hell?
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to throw that. Anybody have any other thoughts, or should we just move on?
I would just say for people who love Bruce Willis, and I do, I loved a lot of his movies. Watch the first 2 seasons of Moonlighting. If you want to see Bruce Willis, early Bruce Willis, hilarious, and the rap, and it reminded me of Howard Hawks movies. I think that's what I liked about it, the overlapping dialogue between him and Sybil Shepherd. But that catapulted him to superstardom, and he was a bartender. I think he did the Bartles and James wine cooler commercial that Ralph was talking about. That was his first commercial.
Coolers, right?
It's wet and it's dry. My. But
he's also an extra. He's an extra in the movie The Verdict.
Oh, he's in the courtroom scene.
In the courtroom scene, he sits he's an extra in the back.
But most people of a certain age have never seen Moonlighting.
Yeah.
And if you really want to appreciate Bruce Willis beyond the action hero, watch that, because he was just, I mean, he carried the show.
When he got cast in Die Hard, it was a bit like Michael Keaton getting cast in Batman. They're like, wait, this guy's
everybody turned it down. Clint Eastwood turned it down. Frank Sinatra turned it down because it was a sequel to that Frank Sinatra detective movie he made.
Yeah.
So no, it's still Stallone turned it down. Schwarzenegger turned it down.
So that's why I got his shirt on. There it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and they wasn't sure it was gonna work, but he became the everyman. He wasn't Schwarzenegger. He wasn't Stallone. He got hurt. He was in a lot of pain. He was scared. So but I'm just saying, for those who haven't seen it, check out Moonlighting, because especially the first season when it was just brilliant, and he was great in it too.
There are scenes in Cop Out where Kevin Smith said to Bruce Willis, "Do your moonlighting thing," as they're walking, him and Tracy Morgan are walking down the hall, and it just didn't quite have the magic that he had. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. So we can move on.
Good luck, Bruce. Good luck.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, good luck. Get
prayers
better.
up to you, Bruce.
Yeah.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
I can say this. I saw, Die Hard in the theater a couple of times. And it had come out and made such a big splash that at one point my mother wanted to go see it. And I was like, what? Okay. So we're going to, we're literally at the box office, we're buying our tickets. And I turned to my mom and I was like, Mom, this movie's really violent, because she did not like violent films at all. And she was like, what? And I was like, literally on the poster, it says 1 cop, 12 terrorists, and 40 stories of sheer, excitement. I was like, what did you think it was about? Hostage negotiations?
Did she see it?
Yeah, we went to see it. And it was one of those ones where she came out and she was like, well, I liked it, but it was just so bloody. I was like,
it was.
It was
I
rated
just,
R. What do you
you know,
know?
But it was so good.
When I went to
So I
LA,
have a machine gun.
You saw Nakatomi Plaza?
I'd
That's what
always,
everyone does.
I'd always
Yeah.
go to Nakatomi, which is,
Yeah.
I guess it's
Yeah.
a Fox building or something.
Yeah.
I'd go there. Meant
Century
a lot.
City.
It's just it's just, and then he does Pulp Fiction.
It's fun. I love it.
There's a lot of classic films.
Last
he's done.
Boy
The Fifth
Scout.
Element,
I mean,
Last
come
Boy
on.
Scout.
What's
I don't
an
know.
hog?
My cheesiest favorite one is one of his later ones called Mercury Rising. Have you guys seen
Oh,
Mercury
yeah.
Rising?
Yeah.
He plays the FBI agent helping the
Yeah.
autistic kid, and it's just terrible. But him and Alec Baldwin really play it up, and so he'll be missed. His presence, and it's been missed
Yeah.
because he's been definitely sliding, and him and
The
Kevin
Sixth
Smith had that.
Sense.
Yeah. The
What's
Sixth
that?
Sense.
Oh,
Sixth
yeah.
Sense.
The Sixth Sense. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. I mean, there's a chance he can come back. It's not a death sentence. Okay.
Well,
We're making it sound like a death sentence. It's
Right.
not.
Listen.
So
I gotta
hopefully-
wonder if do you guys see the movie Glass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta wonder if part of what was going on there too, because Bruce Willis had hardly anything to do in that film. If
Yeah,
you
it's
watch
true.
that film,
Hmm.
after what he did in Unbreakable, which was, I think, Unbreakable's just one of his best, and one of M. Night Shyamalan's. Is that his name? One of his best. Shyamalan. And I just felt like Glass. They go, what's going on? The guy's barely doing anything, and
Yeah.
I just wonder if that was part of this too. But we'll never know. I just wish him the best of luck, and see what happens.
But you have me at a loss. You know my name, but who are you? Just another American who saw too many movies as a child? Another orphan of a bankrupt culture who thinks he's John Wayne, Rambo, Marshall Dillon?
I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually. I really like those sequin shirts.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-Ki-Yay, motherfucker.
All right, but now, as John likes to do, let's do a happy film.
But
But before I gotta switch this out. Wait, I got a movie.
after sitting through the movie where the guy gets buried alive, I just thought I'd like to lighten the mood a little bit. That's all.
Well, hang
And
on.
I was thinking about what to watch, and I just watched The Producers for the umpteenth time, but I laughed my butt off through that. And I will also, we talk about Citizen Kane all the time, so I was thinking about bringing that. But then I said, you know what? I just want to bring a laugh-a-minute movie. And for me, there is no one of the funniest movies ever is Airplane, which came out in 1980, directed by Jim Abrams, Jeff, and David Zucker. And so to give a little background on this movie, there's a lot of satire movies that are out now. This was really, other than The Big Bus, which came out in the 70s, which was kind of like this. This is really the first of these
spoof
films. Yeah. And how it came about was that Abrams and Zuckers had a Kentucky Fried Theater where they did improv. And they made Kentucky Fried Movie. And if you saw Kentucky Fried Movie, it was based on late night TV. At the time, you only got 3 channels. So one of the things they did was they would record late night TV to see the commercials so that they could insert the commercials into their movies, their spoof commercials. Well, one night they happened to record the movie 0 Hour, which came out in 1957, which is the Airplane storyline, but as a serious movie, including all the ridiculous dialogue. We'll put a link in the under the comment section to this, because there's a YouTube video where they compare the two movies, and it's amazing. In fact, they had to buy the rights to the movie for only $2,500 because they were afraid that they would get sued by the studio because it was that similar to it.
Put yourself in this man's place. Aboard a transcontinental plane, suddenly half the passengers, including your own son, are struck by a paralyzing, deadly illness. And then in the midst of the panic and confusion, the stewardess tells you to come forward to the pilot's compartment. This is what you find: a pilotless plane running wild in a stormy sky.
Can you fly this airplane and land it?
No, not a chance.
You're the only chance we've got.
How could he fly a plane again after the horrible experience that had sapped his courage and ruined his life? But only he, among all the passengers, had any chance at all to save them, even though it was 1 in 1,000.
This is Cross Canada Charter, flight 714, in distress. Come in, anyone.
I want you to get on the horn and talk this guy down. You'll have to talk him onto the approach. And so help me, you'll have to talk him right down to the ground.
He's below 700 now, and he's still going down.
Speaker, you can't come straight in. You've got enough fuel left for 2 hours flying. You've got to stay up there till we get a break in the weather.
Listen, Trelevin, I'm coming in. Do you hear me? I'm coming in right now.
In front of him, the bewildering array of instruments that blur before his frantic eyes. Beside him, the woman who had once loved him. And behind him, a plane load of frantic passengers.
Ted, we're falling, Ted, we're falling! The mountains, Ted, the mountains!
I thought these guys were geniuses. After seeing this, I go, these guys they're plagiarists. They plagiarize. I watched 0 Hour today to watch it.
The entire movie?
The whole movie. I'm telling you,
boy.
it is almost a scene for scene.
But you can't help but laugh at the lines.
It's amazing what they did with what they had, and not knowing that none of us. What's that?
Say that again.
Even look at Kentucky Fried Movie. A fistful of yen.
Oh yeah.
Here's what they said.
Yeah.
They were
the Dragon.
This was going to be the 20-minute film. Airplane was going to be the 20-minute film around all the commercials that they were collecting, and then they just expanded into what they did.
Well,
now. In 1980,
the producer who finally ended up producing it said, forget this commercial stuff, just expand the story. They also wanted to shoot in black and white, like the original 0 Hour. And
that would have been great.
Yeah, but the studio said no. They wanted to use the same kind of plane. And they
wouldn't let them use a prop plane, right?
They wanted to use the same kind of plane, and he goes, "No, you got to modernize it."
But they use the sound. They use the sound.
To their credit, they're right. Yeah, they used the sound of the prop plane. But they gave the producer credit that they were right.
Have you guys watched 0 Hour? Anybody?
No, but we will.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Watch the YouTube with her side by side. I mean, that's the way to watch it.
Some of it is word for word. It's word for word.
We have to find someone who can fly this plane who hasn't eaten fish for dinner.
Yeah,
that's taken right from that movie.
And Robert Stack was just doing Sterling.
Wait, let me continue my little opening.
I'm sorry, I just can't. I can't.
Why don't you play?
That's why I'm playing in the background.
Play. You got the trailer, Ralph?
Yeah.
All right, let's play the trailer.
All right, here you go.
For those of you at home, please use your monitors.
Stand by for the most extraordinary chain of events ever swept up into high adventure.
Hey, Larry, where's the forklift? Forklift! It's over there for the baggage loader.
Airplane is drama.
This is Dr. Brody at the Mayo Clinic. There's a passenger on your Chicago Flight 209, a little girl named Lisa Davis, en route to Minneapolis. She's scheduled for a heart transplant. I want you to make sure that she's kept in a reclined position and that a continuous watch is kept on her IV.
Airplane is action. Airplane is romance.
I love you, Elaine.
I love you.
Airplane is music.
There is only one river, there is only one sea.
Never has the screen been so big.
You ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
Peter Graves.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
My name is Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
Leslie Nielsen.
This woman has to be gotten to a hospital.
A hospital? What is it?
It's a big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Lloyd Bridges.
Johnny, what can you make out of this? This? Well, I could make a cap, or a brooch, or pterodactyl.
Robert Stack.
All right, Steve, let's face a few facts.
And we hope you enjoy the rest of your flight.
Julie Haggerty.
By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Robert Hayes.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Down, get a hold of yourself.
Please, let me handle this.
I gotta get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Don't be one of the phone. Everything's been told.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Mayday! Mayday!
All right, now everybody, get in crash positions.
The most incredible adventure the screen has ever created.
He's coming right at us!
The big news is Airplane.
All right, there you go.
Now, see, even now, I laugh at that trailer. It's a classic. So they wrote this movie, and they decided they wanted to also direct it, and they shopped it around to the different studios, and frankly, people didn't get it. They finally found a producer who got it, who said, okay, let's go forward with this. Now, the only suggestion they had was they wanted Chevy Chase, Bill Murray. They even they auditioned David Letterman for Robert Hayes' role, and they've got that. They've actually showed the footage of it. And the Zucker said, no, we don't want that. What we want are serious actors, because that's what's going to make it funny. Yeah. So they picked a bunch of actors who never did comedies. Leslie Nielsen really never did any kind of comedy, and they didn't want him. I think he was like their third choice.
Yeah, he was the third choice.
Yeah, Robert Stack, Peter Graves, Lloyd Bridges, who was great in this movie. But as I'm watching the movie, okay, so anyhow, what the movie's about is they go on an airplane. They're going from, I'm not even sure where they're going. They're going from Denver, I think, to Chicago, but I don't know where they're coming from. And they all eat fish, and it's bad food. So everyone gets
all
sick.
eat fish. Some eat fish. Some eat meat.
Right.
Some
And
lasagna.
the doctor ate lasagna.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You had it's
lasagna.
That's right. So Robert Hayes plays a guy who broke up with his girlfriend, who's a flight attendant, and he's the only one who can fly the plane, but he had a bad experience in the war, so he's afraid to fly. It's just hilarious. So that's basically the premise of the movie.
But he was flying in World War II, it's obvious.
That's right. He was flying over Macho Grande. Over Macho Grande, I'll never get over Macho Grande. Anyway, so it's nonstop jokes that watching it a couple times, you pick up something different every time. Because that's the thing about like Police Squad, which I loved that show. The reason why it didn't do well, you had to pay attention to everything that was going on in the background, right? And people just couldn't do that. This is just like that. There are little gags that happen throughout the entire movie that you have to be on top of to catch. But even watching it, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it. First of all, it did $83 million at the box office in 1980 and was the number 4th highest grossing movie of that year. Okay. So people flocked to this movie, even though they didn't even know what it was. It was a very small budget. And you could tell by, that scene in the middle with the clouds that are made out of cotton balls. So they didn't have a lot of money, but they didn't need it. And the thing that made the movie so good for me was seeing these actors, these super serious actors, read the lines like they were in a dramatic film. And that's what made the movie so much funnier than I think it would have been, because they're so deadpan about it. And
it was also the absurdity of the lines they were saying. Because I didn't know Leslie Nielsen was only a serious actor. When I saw this in 1980, I'm just walking. But if they showed them 0 Hour to get the pattern right. They showed them, and this anyway. We'll get into the
Robert Stack. So Robert Stack was having trouble. So first of all, they all got the script, all these actors, right? And none of them got it. And they thought that they were making fun of them, the writers. And they said, no, we want this as we want you to play it as a serious drama. And it was usually their spouses that talked them into doing it. Well,
Peter Graves was really insulted.
He was, because also the lines, do you like gladiator movies? I mean, he didn't want to do anything like that.
Never seen a grown man naked?
So, and it was a lot worse than that too, by the way. In the original script, they actually toned it down. But Robert Stack, the first couple of days, he struggled. It wasn't working. So they had him watch a tape of John Byner. If you know who John Byner is, he used to do a show called Bizarre. Yeah. Great impressionist. They showed him do an impression of Robert Stack in The Untouchables. And he said, that's what we want from you. And he said, okay, I get it now. And that was perfect. Like that scene in the airport where he's flipping those guys over. That was all him. And I don't know how old he was at that time. But again, with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, because in 0 Hour, the co-pilot was what was he, Ralph? A football player?
He's a basketball. Some crazy legs. He was a basketball player, just like Roger.
So they did that in this movie, and so I just love this movie. I just watched it last night, and I laughed again at all the same jokes I've heard 1,000 times. I think part of the reason why I laugh so hard is it's such a common thing to see now in movies and TV. At that time, it wasn't. And you appreciate what they did as the first. It's like Halloween. It reminds me of like a slasher film, right? The first great slasher film was Halloween. I think this is like the first of these movies, and the cast makes it so well. And for Leslie Nielsen and Lloyd Bridges, it absolutely gave them a complete second career that they never would have had otherwise. So I'm dying to hear what you guys think. I'm sure everybody's already seen this movie, but I'd love to know your thoughts on this movie.
Chris, go ahead, because I got a lot to say, but whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this movie's fantastic. I mean, I like virtually everything I say on this podcast starts with, I remember seeing this on video. And I saw this on videotape when I was a kid, and I was laughing so hard. And it was because it truly kind of starts that. I mean, it is the modern day, like it is the first really successful modern day spoof, right? Yeah. And a true spoof. We're taking the disaster film, we're gonna.
Well, let's be fair. Let's be fair. Mel Brooks. Okay, Mel Brooks probably started this with Blazing Saddles. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's true.
But you're right. The modern day spoofs are all based on this one.
Yeah.
They were trying to do what this one did.
Yeah. I mean, and most of them fail.
Yeah, miserably.
Some of them are terrible, but some of them are still pretty funny. But this one is, and you're right. Blazing Saddles does obviously spoof the Western, but this one, it was like, hey, we're going to take just these airport movies that they kept making, and we're just going to go after those. And it was just every bit of it is pretty funny. I mean, the thing that made me probably laugh the hardest is the gag at the very end of the credits.
When the guy's in the cab?
Guy's still in the cab, like, Stryker runs out of the cab and he's like, I'm going to give him 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
And it's like, he's been sitting there in this cab with the meter running for 2 hours or whatever, whatever the amount of time is in that. I always love that final kind of bit and that final gag, And the funny thing is as good as this is, and I think it is terrific, it always makes me think of they're less successable, but still maybe not equally as good.
Top Secret.
You got it, man.
I love Top Secret.
No, Top Secret's great. I love no. Yeah.
But this obviously it's a terrific film. It's funny. at one point a woman runs by with no shirt on. So as like a 9-year-old kid, that was fantastic.
Boobies.
Yeah, I was
Well, there's that and the one
And the one with the jello shaking.
The
jiggling jello. Yeah. Right.
It was just, I mean, but it was just kind of that silly goofiness.
Listen, that stuff, they snuck that in. There's a scene at the beginning where Lloyd Bridges is at the magazine rack picking out, I think I forget what, and there's a sign that says whacking material. And it's right, all the Playboys and all are back there. It's like these guys were dropping stuff in, that to sneak past the, the MPPA, whatever the hell. And
I liked the nun. No, the nun reading Boy's Life
and the
boy reading Nun's
Life.
Now I'm telling you guys, when you watch 0 Hour, the appreciation you're going to have for what they did will just
because they stole the same lines.
It makes the movie that much better. Like I said, either they just cheated or they're brilliant because it's
I
amazing.
think they're brilliant.
Right down to that scene where the young kids are drinking the coffee and he goes, would you like, no, I like my coffee like I like my men, black or whatever that little girl says.
Yeah.
That's just a copy of a couple that does it in the other film. It's just anyway. Sorry, Chris. It starts
great.
Yeah.
No, but it's really a fantastic film, and it's one of those ones where I'm trying to think of other, what they call themselves Zaz, right? Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker, and like I said, Top Secret's terrific, but I don't think they ever reached this pinnacle again. And I don't think I'd seen Kentucky Fried Movie when I saw this first, but I have seen it many times since. And
I don't know, their Naked Gun stuff with Leslie, the movies.
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
Listen, I have all the Police Squad. I just thought
Police Squad is great.
Was an amazing TV series. But John's
Yeah.
right. You had to pay attention. And when you're sitting at home, you're not going to do that. It's the kind of, but their Naked Gun, they kind of tapped into that and they did a pretty good job. That series, it had OJ in there. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah. The first Naked Gun's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still kind of I still think this one's really, I think this.
Oh no, this is the top. Top Secret is close to this one. Top Secret is
I like
great.
Top Secret a lot.
That's Val Kilmer's first film too.
I just heard David Zucker on a podcast. I think he thinks that Top Secret is funnier. He compared it because he was talking to someone who loved the Marx Brothers films, and everybody always says that Night at the Opera was the best Marx Brothers film, but Duck Soup was the funniest one. He goes, we did it in reverse. Airplane is our Night at the Opera, maybe our best film, but he thought that Top Secret was their funniest one.
Well, they had a bigger budget. They did everything. They did that underwater fight scene. I mean, they did a lot of crazy stuff.
Well,
in
the
that
forced
movie.
perspective they did with the phone.
And Val Kilmer was great in that movie too. He was excellent.
I hear he's a dick. I hear he's.
Well, he's real sick too.
Rephrase that, Sean.
Yeah.
See, that's these guys get sick, so you have better thoughts, I guess. Is that what's going on? Drew, you're up there nodding. What's going on?
Well, when I was looking at, these guys created a whole genre of movies.
Yeah.
And it was interesting looking back. The three of them together only made 3 movies and the Police Squad series. They just made Airplane, Top Secret, which is my personal favorite.
You mean as together as 3 directors?
The 3 of them, yeah. And then Ruthless People. And then they went off and they made more movies that were clearly from that same cloth. Like I love the first Naked Gun movie, Hot Shots.
Yeah.
But they also went on to do stuff like Ghost.
Yeah.
And win Oscars and things. And it's interesting because like they don't make those movies anymore, but then you've got a whole generation of movies like Not Another Teen Movie and all those movies that are very silly, but they're the same thing. And Scream, Scary Movie, and all those things. None of that exists without Airplane. I think Airplane is okay. I think it's funny, but I think Top Secret is one of the all-timers. That movie is just exuberant and ridiculous, and it's funny because Val Kilmer, apparently this was in the documentary that was out about him, he really wanted to do serious acting in Shakespeare and stuff, and he wasn't really interested in doing that movie, and his agent was like, no, this is it, this is the big time, and he's wonderful in it, but apparently that's not what he wanted to do. So it's kind of interesting.
David Zucker said of Val Kilmer, he's like, they never really got along at all, and he was difficult. But then they were at a party later, And Zucker saw someone he didn't like, and he goes, "Oh, I can't stand that guy." He tells it to Val Kilmer sitting next to him. And then he said suddenly they started bonding because they were able to bond over anger. And Val Kilmer, such a great actor, particularly Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I love.
I mean,
that.
I like
you gotta
Val Kilmer,
understand.
but when you hear
I was
about
thinking
people in
of-
Hollywood, or
I was thinking of bringing that movie to the podcast.
Oh.
Just the documentary.
I would
about
love
it.
to see it. I had not
The
seen it.
documentary's great.
But
That
I
I
gotta
saw.
watch both of them.
Listen,
saw it
Airplane. Airplane was a revelation when it came out.
Yeah.
Airplane was, I mean, it just killed. It killed, and everybody quoted, that whole "Don't Call Me Shirley,"
Right.
A hospital, what is it? A big building with patients, all that.
But that's
stuff.
not important right now.
It's just, I mean, we all were. It's just crazy.
Jim never has 2 cups of coffee at my house.
Well, now if you're not like you watch that now and you go, how's nobody's going to get that? That's an old Sanka commercial or something. I forget what the commercial was. And then they
that's
didn't.
right. It just dawned
Yeah,
on me.
well, what that actress was the actress who was in the original commercial for that. They didn't know that when they hired her. But she was
And
the
Barbara
person who actually said that in the
Billingsley-
commercial.
Wow.
Barbara Billingsley and those guys, those
Jive.
African American actors, sat around and tried to figure. They created that whole jive.
Well,
thing.
the Zuckers wrote the Jive Talk originally.
Yeah, but it was like,
and
it
they
was
gave it to the
white
actors.
guy
and they were
jive
like,
talk.
well, no, what is this? This is so they actually wrote their own dialogue. And Barbara Billingsley, they actually wanted Harriet Nelson.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to do it, and she regrets it. But Barbara Billingsley just wasn't getting it, so the 3 of them went out to lunch and workshopped it. And it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie. When
And her career
I
went.
speak jive.
Yeah, I guess
her
she did a
Q
lot
factor
more
went through
after
the
that.
roof. Yeah, and the guys were great about it. They loved it. They had their own language. They said, "Slap a piece of port on the side." Love that.
And
Yeah,
and
hilarious.
autopilot.
Yeah.
You gotta blow up your.
That's the thing about it. It's just, I mean, that's
Well,
how-
Leslie Neilsen, when he walks in and sees her, and just the look on his face, and then he just turns around and leaves. It's just so funny.
And the woman is like, we're gonna die, and I'm 27 and I'm not married.
that's the
And then
best.
The woman comes in, we're gonna die, but at least I have a husband.
I mean, it's so brilliant. And
Oh, I loved it. My favorite gag, sorry to interrupt, but is when the woman's panicking and the person comes up and shakes her, and then he comes in and hits her. And they shake
that
her.
is all in. That's all in 0 hour. That's in 0 hour. They keep coming back to the lady.
But
panicking.
the actress is the one who suggested, let's get a big long line of people. It was only supposed to be 2 of them that slap her. She said it'd be funny if you had a big long line. And apparently Leslie Neilsen actually hit her by mistake, and he felt terrible about it. But that's another
hurt?
good.
Did she get
What?
hurt?
She was. I mean, it hurt, because she got slapped. Ask Chris Rock, but she was fine.
Well, and the
She
nun was
fine.
played by the nun was
Maureen McGovern.
And did you hear that the song that she sings when she pops was
Yeah.
written by one of the Peter, Paul, and Mary guys?
Yeah,
And he wrote it as a
absolutely.
song for a friend's wedding, and
I
was
didn't know
pissed
that.
off when he saw the film because they're making a joke out of that song.
What's the
Well,
song?
they had to get the rights to it.
They got the rights. No, he had given up the rights.
Oh, I see.
So they got it. But when he saw it, then he was pissed off that he gave up the rights because that's
Well,
how they used
there
it.
was a nun in one of the Airplane movies. I think it was Helen Reddy.
Yeah.
They wanted Helen Reddy to play the nun.
Well, Zero Hour
Her
was
studio
directed-
wouldn't let her do it
0 Hour was directed
Why
by.
wouldn't they let
because
her
they didn't
do
want they didn't want someone from the actual airport movies making fun of the airport.
The
movies.
airport movies were written by the same guy that wrote 0 Hour. too.
Yeah.
Alex, I forget his
Haley.
last name.
Alex Haley.
Alex Haley.
Yeah, which would have been funny. I think that would have been funny. But even that scene when the little girl Jill Whelan,
Yeah.
well, she's singing,
It's there's so many. It's such.
and everyone's like, and David Leisure was one of the
Joe
Hare Krishna
Azuzu.
guys.
Joe Azuzu.
Yeah, Joe Azuzu was one of the Hare Krishna
Oh,
guys.
I recognized him. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember where he was from.
David Leisure.
Well, he was friends with the lead guy. What's his name?
Robert Hayes.
Yeah. That's how he got hooked up on the film.
Debbie, how about you? I want to hear from you. What'd you think?
Oh my gosh, John, this movie was so much fun. We watched it Friday. So we're watching it and we are laughing out loud to each other. It was like it's good to laugh.
Absolutely.
But the joke, the thing that I didn't realize, it was a remake of 0 Hour, which
Not a remake.
I'm definitely going to dive into that.
It makes it so much funnier too when you realize that schlocky dialogue they use comes straight from that other movie.
I'm
Now,
telling
Ralph,
you,
you say it's not a remake?
it is no.
Well,
I can't. You got to watch. You got to watch 0 Hour.
Is. The storyline is the same.
It's the same. Yeah, the fish right down to the fish.
But
the story.
Isn't that comic? I mean, isn't that the idea of them doing that comical in itself?
Oh, no, like I said, they're geniuses. It's a genius move.
But it's not their genius. It's somebody else's genius.
Well, no, someone to see the comedy in that movie is what's genius.
Yeah,
and
to flip it the way they flipped it. And
what's the funniest joke? Oh, man.
What is the funniest joke in the whole world?
In the whole world?
Isn't that the Aristocrats?
The funniest thing, the funniest concept is we laugh at people, right? What is the funniest thing that I could think of that movie is saying? Airplane.
Absurdity. It's all absurd humor. It's all absurd.
No, these people are all serious.
Yeah, well,
that's what makes it funny.
Right.
That's the genius. What they did, the genius was to go with serious actors.
Right.
Yes.
And to play it serious.
Yes.
Right.
And
Peter Graves, you were saying Peter Graves, he's like, why would I be in this? You guys need a comedian. No.
No.
There's a reason we want you here, and you're going to do these lines, and it's going to get a laugh. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, that's the one place where they break the fourth wall, and it's genius when they pull him out.
When he grabbed that kid, that wasn't scripted, and the kid was scared for real.
Yeah.
And this movie teaches so much about our humanity, because when you say, like, in life you make a mistake or something, you try to cover it up or something, but if you just come right out and say, "Oh, that was a bad mistake I made."
Well, look, they showed the old lady hangs herself, right?
Yeah.
The Asian guy guts himself. Right,
when they're listening to the story,
they got the Indian guy putting gasoline on himself. They were hitting everything. Yeah. They show Air Israel with the big, the beard and the
Air Israel.
Because you don't want serious. People don't want to hear the serious stuff. You want to laugh. Just like casual people.
You talk about lightning in a bottle. That film was lightning in a bottle because I don't even think they didn't even direct the sequel.
They hate that. David Zucker says one of the things he hates most is when people come up to him and say, "Oh, I loved Airplane, it's the funniest movie," and then they mention something from the second film. He goes, "Oh, that's like an arrow in my heart."
Yeah, they've never seen it, but
because they just redid Airplane, except in space, and they didn't think we did everything we could think of in the first movie. That's why they went so different with Top Secret.
Yeah, it was different.
They wanted to do something really different.
Yeah.
Well, What's Up, Tiger Lily?
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Is that a remake?
Is that a remake?
No, I mean, what he did was take an actual movie and redub it, rewrite it. So, but is that a remake? I mean, if Airplane is really a remake of 0 Hour, is that the same thing?
That's an interesting question because it's sort of like reconstituting it. It's sort of like fair use. You can use something provided you make an entirely different work out of it.
It's like orange juice, OJ. It's
reconstituted. Is that really just orange juice?
OJ Simpson.
That's a mimosa, right?
Really, was he a football player or an actor or a murderer? We don't know.
It's all of them.
All three.
All of the above. He was very diverse.
Yes.
Also an armed robber.
Well-rounded and a prisoner.
Yeah,
and an ad pitch man.
But even the leads like Julie Haggerty,
so
who
cute.
I've seen her like Lost in America. I love her in that movie.
In that.
But she was just even the way she played it was just like that scene in the club when they start dancing. Even that scene comes out of left field. Yeah, and she's all or when so sincere about it.
When I sit on my face, I sit on your face.
I sit and wriggle on your face,
and I wiggle. I mean, yeah. No, it's
even the old lady. She's lovely girl, nice figure, supple breasts.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I will tell you that
she was also great in Freddie Got Fingered. I think you guys all know that American classic.
Was she actually in that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I only watched like 5 minutes of it.
What were you going to say,
Ended
Sean?
his career.
You were going to say something, Sean.
I'll tell you the thing that got the biggest laugh when I saw it in the theater. It's when they go to the disco station in the tower and it says, where disco lives. And it knocks the tower over.
Yeah.
Disco's going to live forever. Right. Disco's going to live forever.
People literally stood up and cheered. I mean, literally.
I know.
But Ralph, you said something. You said something that's so true. The lines from this movie. Think about the lines. Like, how many people say, "I picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue"?
That's straight from.
No, he says, "I picked a bad week to quit."
It's Sterling
smoking,
Hayden. Sterling Hayden is awesome.
Who's playing Robert Stack's part?
Wow. Robert Stack is playing Sterling Hayden. Yeah, but I picked a bad week to quit smoking, and they just kept piling on. No, it's
bad week. Just quit amphetamines.
No, and Don't Call Me Shirley. I mean,
it's also listed in all the top 10 comedy movies of all time. This is listed in that list.
Should be.
And
it should be.
Some Like It Hot's in that list, so that tells you where this fits in the genre. But you're right, Ralph.
The top films of that decade, it was number one.
Yeah,
it's definitely better than Young Frankenstein. So I'll definitely.
That is not true.
Wow.
I don't know.
I was just going to say, Ralph's right. Mel Brooks.
But time out here. That's a low blow, Ben.
Mel Brooks did it before.
He's doing that for the clicks.
But this was very different than even the Mel Brooks movies. I think it was so rapid fire, and there was so much going on.
Well, he does. They do what Mel Brooks. There's a whole other cut of this film that goes on for 3 hours, where they got rid of all the jokes that didn't work. They have a ton of jokes that didn't work.
You've seen that version?
They were testing. No, I listen to what they said. They were testing this film all kinds of places, and there were lots of stuff that just didn't make it. And same with Mel. When you watch Mel Brooks stuff, when he's doing these spoofy things, there's stuff that some of it works, some of it doesn't.
Yeah,
they put it in anyway. And that's the genius. I just think the timing was right. Because, all those airport movies kept coming out. That's part of it. We had Airport 70-something, Airport Concorde, Airport 77, Charlton Heston.
The one where they go under the water?
George Kennedy.
Yeah, that was George Kennedy.
They were trying to get Heston and Kennedy to do this one.
Right.
And
They wanted to. Universal wouldn't let them do it.
Because they were attached to that. And they didn't want to make fun of those films. But those films, Towering Inferno, think about all the disaster films that were coming out.
But they couldn't make another airport movie after this movie came out.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Because it would have been, people would have laughed at it based on this movie.
How could you?
Airport 79, the Concorde.
But I have such more appreciation for this film after seeing 0 Hour. I swear to God. It's like a revelation, right? 1980, how old am I now? I'm 60 years old. And I just cannot get over this other film. I want you guys to watch it because
we will.
You'll laugh as much as you did during Airplane because you're going to recognize everything that's going on.
All the characters.
It's unbelievable. Even Johnny, Johnny, the weird dude that they kept flipping throughout.
I can make a hat of it.
Right. That guy. That guy's in here, but he's serious. He's not,
Okay, but now I have to address something, a very important issue.
Okay.
Sean had brought it up earlier in the podcast when he said something bad about disco. And I was wondering if you guys, it's the elephant in the room, because he said that people hated disco.
They did. 1980, they did.
1980, they hated disco. It was
Remember
the death
they blew
of
up
disco.
all those disco records in a baseball stadium?
Yeah, Chicago.
Chicago. This is something from Ohio. We would never, we like have disco as like a part of our time in our minds. It was fabulous.
That's why you left Ohio.
It was fabulous for a couple of years.
No, by 1980.
By 1980, it was dead.
It was dead. People
not in Ohio, but everywhere else.
I got my job. I came here to Baltimore in 1980. So maybe it died. I don't know, but in my mind, it was there forever. I mean, it's still with
disco
me.
That's in your mind. That is in your mind.
No, I love disco.
Well, no, I mean, yeah.
I love that era. I love the idea of Friday and Saturday you got in your disco clothes and went dancing, and that
never liked that music.
No, but there was
Never did.
definitely
The Bee
a
Gees,
back.
now
There was
let's
a
go watch that
backlash.
movie.
I like the Bee Gees. I like Saturday
I
Night.
think people
Saturday
were
Night.
sick of the Bee Gees, sick
Yeah.
of disco by
Well, by
1979.
1980, they definitely were.
1970, 1980. That's when
Yeah.
they were blowing up records. That's why this was such a great joke.
Yeah.
It was such a prescient joke at the time. If I could,
Well, I'll
just
tell
I
you
love
what.
that. All the tropes.
About disco, I have 2 albums. One's a double album. Saturday Night Fever,
classic.
Everyone's got that album.
and the Casablanca Records Greatest Hits. You don't need another disco album. Everything you need is on one of those
We
2
need
albums.
more of the disco. The disco's got to come back.
Oh,
Disco
I
is
do
Debbie.
own
If anything,
2 albums.
disco is not
young
dead.
people out
As
there.
long, Deb, as long as it's in your mind, it's not dead.
Right. All right. Do we need to rate this, or is this all? No, I think Drew might be the outlier here.
It might be a Yippee-Ki-Yay
I
man.
think it's funny. It's a good movie. It's funny.
What's your
What do you
what's your rating?
It's Yippee-Ki-Yay. I mean, it's a comedy classic.
Okay.
There you go.
Chris?
Uh-oh.
He's muted.
Oh, we
You're
lost
muted.
our sound.
Oh, there you go.
Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Sean and Debbie, Yippee-Ki, what?
Yippee-Ki-Yay. She definitely liked it better than Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yeah, Kentucky Fried Movie is a tricky one. That's
Kentucky Fried Movie's hit or miss.
Yeah.
You know what?
There's some things that work really well and there's some things that don't work out. But
Catholic
Catholic
schoolgirls
get in trouble.
Like if you're a man or a boy, I think you probably like it. It brings something of remembrance in your mind about what happened at those times where you were
lots of
fascinated
boners.
with those things.
It's a boner movie.
Show me your dick.
Show me your
show me
your nuts.
Show me your nuts.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Debbie, lots of religion in airplane.
Okay,
You've
give
got-
me one example, Ralph.
You got a nun. You've
Yes.
you've got the Jehovah Witness coming up in the airport. You've got
The little figure on the dashboard that covered its eyes.
little
when they were
Saint
attached.
Joseph or Saint
Yeah.
Christopher, I think it was. I don't think it was Jesus. You got the big Jewish jet with the beard and the scarf, right? Air Israel.
Yeah.
What else? What else we got?
Air
There's a lot-
Israel.
A lot of stuff going on there. No, LL.
You know what?
LL.
Debbie pointed
LL.
out something that I never noticed, and I've seen this film. That's Jimmy Walker.
Yeah, JJ, Jimmy.
Yeah, he was.
I just never noticed it was him.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a
Dynamite.
funny bit.
Oh, John, I can't believe you didn't mention this. One of the guys up there with Robert Stack was the guy from The Thing from Another World.
Oh, Kenneth Tobey.
The lead actor.
Yeah.
Right.
I did know that. I was going to mention that too.
Yeah.
See, because everyone knows Thing from Another World is a great movie.
Right.
That's why.
Okay.
It's a classic.
Okay, let's try to remember my memory. What is it?
The lead actor from A Thing from Another World, which is the
Kenneth Tobey. He played the captain.
Or
Not
what
the
is
ca- not the
Thing
carrot.
from Another World? What is
The,
it?
Not
the
carrot.
alien, the alien who came
Monster
down.
out of
Remember
the
the one that I brought that 40,000 people have looked at? He was a walking carrot, and they ended up electrocuting him
Debbie,
at
that
the
was
end.
your first real one after the
Yeah.
late Jeopardy. You
Yeah.
came in because you liked the
Listen, I was thrilled when I saw Joe Azuzu in there. I'm like, holy, that's Joe Azuzu.
David Leisure.
Yeah, he's,
But, there's another movie that I don't know if it would have gotten the opportunity to exist if Airplane hadn't started this, and that's Hollywood Shuffle.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, because
Yeah.
those were
Yeah.
straight spoof films.
Same idea. Yeah.
The depictions of black people, and they're an absolute riot, funny movies. So
again,
Hollywood Shuffle is
Black
hilarious.
Dynamite
Yeah.
calls back to a different thing.
Black
and it's-
Dynamite. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
black
That's the
exploitation
funniest-
films.
funniest
Yeah,
thing on
Black.
the-
I would lean more into that as an Airplane than the Hollywood side. I think Mel Brooks. I think Mel Brooks started. I'd still go back. Mel
Yeah.
Brooks is the
concur.
The DNA of all these other spoof. Airplane is scary movie and like the absurd kind of, humor. I think those
Black
other ones
Dynamite
are a
is
little
more
more
like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. In
Yeah.
the sense that it's trying to be the thing that it is.
Yes,
Right.
that's right.
It's an homage.
Black Dynamite's doing the same thing. Where
An
like
homage.
scary.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
you're
John. That's the fancy word, homage. Now let's
Were
talk
there
about,
any tropes?
Plenty of tropes.
Yeah, lots of tropes.
let's talk about the word homage. That sounds like a French word.
I think it is.
I believe it is.
We.
That's why the H is silent. Okay. All right.
Oh, Drew,
All
what
right,
is
John,
what
your
does
rating is
homage
Yippee-Ki-Yay, I
mean?
assume.
I picked it, Ralph. So you know me. Surely you're joking. I'm not joking. Don't call
Shirley,
me
it's not
Shirley.
Shirley.
Ralph?
Oh, but I forgot the other spoof film since we're talking about Bruce Willis. Hudson Hawk. Oh, wait, that wasn't a spoof.
I love Hudson Hawk. I'll tell you what, the scene where they're singing "Swing on a Star,"
right, when they rob,
that is a great scene.
Yeah,
that is the whole movie.
Other than that movie is bad, bad movie. And he directed that, by the way.
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah. It has Willis written all over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't direct it.
Yeah, I thought he did.
I don't think he did.
It was Michael Lehman, the guy who did Heathers, which is why I went to see it. And
I think you're right on that.
I thought he directed that.
I think de facto he directed it, which is why it bombed.
I was about to say he may have de facto. That's a good way of putting it.
Ralph. That's okay. Show me your shirt. That's a Ralph shirt you're wearing. Stand up. There you go.
I like
there
that.
I am. Show me that beard. There you go. I just got to wear the glasses.
But yeah, no, I think it may have been one of those things. I even heard Joel Silver, the producer on Hudson Hawk, who was like, he didn't want to do it. It was one of those things where he was like, I made a deal to say I will produce one film if you're in another film that he wanted to do. He's like, it was basically like, it was the only movie I produced that I didn't really want to do. And I think Bruce Willis was so big at the time that he just said, this is what I want.
Right.
And that was a huge budgeted movie too.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Bruce Willis wrote the story.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's move on. Let's see who's next.
Ralph, you give it a Yippee-Ki-Yay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Now, I want all of you guys to watch 0 Hour, please.
We will.
We'll have a.
And again, I'm going to put the link. I'm going to put a link to the YouTube comparison below the comment section. If to get that, you got to subscribe, hit the notification button, and share it.
It's almost as funny as Airplane. I swear.
It is almost as funny.
Great drama. Right down to the Mike from Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
he's in this movie. He's the guy that's always looking at the microwave.
Yeah.
That scene is in this.
What an asshole. He's up. He's out.
It's the same scene. It's the exact same scene. The guy's in a leather jacket.
Yeah.
They just stole from this film. It's amazing. So watch it, and then we'll talk about it again off-site because, whatever.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I got you.
Flattery is another form of...
I think they stole. I don't think I think they actually stole.
Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
That's what they say, but I think they stole. All right. Here we go. 3
down
on
to 3
on the wheel. Oh,
the cat won.
It's Drew.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it because that cat is dead. So
my God, I'm so sorry.
I didn't mean to bring it up.
He had a good long life. He was a good boy.
Okay, good.
Unlike this cat, which I don't know if you noticed me making faces. This cat farted. It was so bad. And I was like, I'm trying to do a show here. What are you doing? And she just looked at me like, I'm the princess. I can do whatever I want.
Wow.
So, yes, I will come up with a movie and let you know. I'll try to come up with something lighthearted, fun.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, with a message.
Lighthearted and fun.
Expand John's movie horizons.
Oh, here we go. I can't wait for this.
John, you had your one happy film. Now we're going back. This is how we do. We're trying to get you to watch,
I'll watch whatever I need to watch, Ralph. That's fine.
There's films out there that you just watch.
I like to feel miserable after I watch a film. So yes.
Then should I bring the Gray Zone? That's a fun one.
The Gray Zone?
Oh, the Gray Zone.
Let's confess. The only time that I could not watch a film on this program is The Vanishing.
I understand that. I didn't realize you had such a reaction the first time you saw that. I still would have brought it anyway because I just think it's a brilliant film.
It's not about me. It's never about me.
No, it's about the podcast, right?
About disco.
There's a disco lives.
That's right.
Disco.
Disco.
You guys
lives
ever
forever.
seen Mystery Men?
Yeah, I love Mystery Men.
What's up, Tiger Lily? Disco is not dead. It is not dead.
Not dead.
Mr. Furious.
So, Drew, give us a couple days. Let us know.
Everybody. I will pick something. It probably won't be Tenet, but I'll come up with something that is worth seeing and that everyone will have a strong emotional engagement with. That's my goal.
Now, we've already done Promising Young Woman, so we can't do that again. Okay.
Is that a rule? I thought we could do that for the live.
Oh, you can pick whatever movie you want, Drew.
That's my rule. That's my rule. So, All right, everybody. Have a good week.
See y'all.
Everybody, good thoughts for Bruce Willis, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yippee-Ki-Yay,
Bruce, we're all here. Yeah.
Check out Moonlighting. Check out Moonlighting.
You mean a lot to us, and good luck. Okay. All right. Everybody, have a nice week. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye. Later. Bye, everyone.
Yes.